This is Finance Corner. My name is Cornelius Muteti. Today, I will be bringing to you the Payslip and payroll analysis to be able to understand how to prepare payroll and also to guide you on the items that encompasses your payslip every month to understand how much your employer is giving out to you as the gross pay and the deductions that they are making. It is always good to understand how much is coming to your paycheck every month. We'll be looking at all the components, including the deductions and the summary of every item. And later we will look at an example of how you can be able to get some of the softwares online to guide you on how to analyze your payslip. Well, payroll basically consists of various components that determine how much you will get at the end of every month. These are some of the items that will guide the net pay from what is the contractual agreement with your employer. And the first item we look at is the basic salary, which is the fixed amount of money that the employee you will get from the contractual agreement you have with the employer. For instance, if the contract states that you should be getting a fixed amount of money, for instance, in this case, 100 Kenya shillings, that is what you expect to get at the end of the month, and that is what is subjected to the deductions, the statutory deductions that are remitted by your employer. Well, apart from the basic pay, some of the employers are willing to give out to employees some of the allowances to assist them in their accommodation, in their transportation, for instance, their commuter allowances, house allowances, and also to cater for your health, which comes in form of a medical allowance. Now, how do you treat these allowances when you're computing the payroll, or how are they treated in your payslip? Well, these items are added on the basic pay at the end of the month before any deductions is made. For instance, if your payslip reads a fixed amount, or rather a basic pay of Kenya shillings 100,000, and you have other allowances that the employer has granted you, you will have to top up, for this case 100 plus assume a housing allowance of 10,000 every month and a commuter allowance of 5,000. So what is the gross pay in this case? In this case, the gross pay will be 100 Kenya shillings, 100,000 Kenya shillings plus the 10,000 Kenya shillings plus the 5,000 Kenya shillings, which is a total of 115,000 Kenya shillings. Looking at the other item or component, these are statutory deductions, which now should show you how much you're contributing to the statutories. Some of these items are taxation measures in terms of income tax, in terms of contributing to the housing, affordable housing levies, contributing towards your retirement benefits, and also the National Insurance Fund. Well, we'll start with income tax, which is pay as you earn pay. Now, this item is compulsory for all the people who are earning 24,000 Kenya shillings monthly. And pay is levied progressively, meaning that those who are earning more will pay more. And in this case, the lowest earners are those earning at least 24,000 contribute 10% of their income to pay per month. The highest earners currently is 800, at least 800, and these people in this band contribute 35% of their income to pay every single month. It is also good to note the personal relief, which is at 2,400 Kenya shillings, and this relief is basically meant to lighten the tax burden. Well, this 2,400 is less from the pay at the point of computing. This is subject to the band that you are. For instance, if the total tax that was to be deducted was, for instance, 23,000, then the system you're using should be able to deduct the 2400 personal relief just to cushion you and ease in the tax burden um, obligation that you're supposed to pay to the government. Well, the second component of the statutory deductions is the National Health Insurance Fund. And this is just an initiative that aims to improve access to affordable healthcare for the Kenyans. And it is capped currently at 1700 Kenya shillings per month for eye earners. Remember also, if you're not in formal employment, you are also entitled or you are supposed to contribute monthly premiums towards this scheme of Kenya shillings 500 every month. There is also a cushion to also help you not to feel the burden of contributing all this amount. And they've introduced, or rather the government has introduced insurance relief for those who are paying these insurance premiums for life, health, and educational policies for themselves and their families. And this relief is given at 15% of the premiums paid to a maximum of 5,000 Kenya shillings per month, a total of 60,000 per annum. Well, how is this treated? For instance, if you're paying 1,000 Kenya shillings per month as insurance relief, sorry, as the insurance premium, then you're subject to 15% of the premium, which is 1,000. So, which is 15% times 1,000, you're getting 150 relief, insurance relief. So this is less from the total amount of money that you are paying, and when you're deducting your statutory deductions from your gross pay, that is also catered for as a relief. Well, we look at the third component, which is National Social Security Fund. And this is a benefit to Kenyan workers in their retirement or in cases whereby an accident that may disable you or the employer for employee for this case could also be considered when that time, God forbid, happens. There is a schedule that also shows you how this is computed. And at the end of this video, towards the end, we'll look at the computation, the tiers. And for this case, the government just introduced some of the changes which recently were implemented on the tier 1 and the tier 2, whereby you are contributing both tiers for most of the employment agreements. It's also wise to note that the employer contributes the same amount of money that is deducted from employee. For instance, if you are paying tier 1 the 420 and tier 2 the 1,740, that is a total of 2,160. That is the amount of money deducted from your payslip. It is also required that the employer should also remit the same amount to this fund. The last one is the Affordable Housing Levy, which facilitates the construction of affordable housing units for Kenyan citizens. The levy is currently at 1.5% of your gross pay. Remember the basic pay plus the additional allowances, then the 1.5% is subject to that amount. It is deducted and remitted. Currently, the custodian is Kenya Revenue Authority. The employer is also supposed to deduct the same amount, or rather, should also contribute same amount. Therefore, it's like they are doing the 3%, 1.5% deducted from the employee and 1.5% deducted from the employer. Therefore, they should remit 3% for that particular staff. Well, in summary, what encompasses a payslip or the payroll analysis are the basic pay, the deductions, and the net pay. The gross pay, as discussed, these are the fixed amount of money that you have agreed with your employer to pay you every month. Some of other items that the employer may be willing to give you in form of allowances are cash payments, in form of housing allowances, as mentioned, medical or commute allowances. And it is also good to note that all cash payments and the value of non-cash benefits are considered as allowances for this case. Amounts exceeding 3,000 Kenya shillings per month. These are added to the basic pay to get the gross pay. Then apply the deductions according to the amount of money that is subject to gross pay in terms of payee, NHIF, NSSF, and the AHF, which is the Affordable Housing Levy. Then the difference between the gross pay and the deductions should be able to give you the net pay. List for the Kenyan employees and also for employers to confirm on the payroll computations. You can maneuver around to see some of the menu items, but for this specific task, we will be looking at an example of the calculators. And for this case, it's always good to consider the period of concern because of the frequent and changes in the tax laws. For instance, in the 2023 Finance Act, there were changes. So for this case, we are using July 2023 to December 2024 for this particular period. Therefore, you need to select on that. It's already selected. And now we can proceed to the calculators to see how much you're making. For this case, we want to know the net pay of 100,000 Kenya shillings. You'll go to the calculators and pick the net pay. Then on the net pay calculator, see the period it's covering is between July 2023 and December 2024. The gross pay here, for example, will pick 100 Kenya shillings, 100,000 Kenya shillings. Once you type in, then go to calculate and see how much deductions and finally how much net income should reflect in your payslip. Let's calculate and see. Now, it's showing the deductions. For instance, the payee that has already been calculated at 21,255. NSSF, it's capturing both Tier 1 and Tier 2, which is a summation of 2160. That is for 20 shillings plus 1,740 shillings, a total of 2160. And HIF, remember, the bands are different. It has picked for which the gross pay 100,000 Kenya shillings lies. Housing levy, as mentioned earlier, is at 1.5% of 100,000 Kenya shillings, which is, for this case, housing levy is 1,500 from the employee's point of view. Therefore, it's expected that the employer will also contribute the same amount of housing levy as well as the NSSF. The amount is 2,160 for both Tier 1 and Tier 2. Therefore, the employer is also expected to contribute same amount. And there you go, you get your net pay, which is 73,384.65 Kenya shillings. Remember, this is a basic illustration of a basic payslip without other key considerations. There are deductions that you may be contributing to, for instance, a SACCO, a higher education loans board. You could be having a mortgage interest, which is an allowable deduction, or even pension, which is not part of the NSSF, maybe with a private organization or institution. Therefore, this is just a basic illustration that you can consider. And thank you so much. Kindly like, subscribe, and share this video so that you can always be alerted when we share such informative presentations. Thank you so much.